Did you know that something as simple as your afternoon coffee habit could be stealing hours of your precious sleep and sending your anxiety through the roof? If you are over 60, this seemingly harmless daily ritual might be doing far more damage than you realize. Most people believe that reaching for that second or third cup of coffee during the day is perfectly normal and completely safe. After all, you have been drinking coffee for decades without any obvious problems, right? But here is what researchers at the University of California, Berkeley discovered that will shock you. When seniors do not get adequate sleep, their anxiety levels can spike by up to 30% the next day. That afternoon coffee you enjoy at 3 o'clock is still actively blocking your sleep hormones 6 hours later when you try to fall asleep. Your brain cannot produce the melatonin it desperately needs, leaving you tossing and turning while worry spirals consume your thoughts all night long. Let me ask you something. Do you find yourself lying awake at 3 in the morning? Your mind racing with worries about health, family, or finances? Do you wake up feeling like you never truly rested, even after spending 8 hours in bed? Maybe you notice that your heart races more easily these days, or you feel on edge about things that never used to bother you. If any of this sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. You are not broken, and you are not just getting old. These are signs that certain daily habits are unknowingly sabotaging your sleep and amplifying your anxiety. Today, I'm going to walk you through 5 specific mistakes that research shows are the biggest culprits behind sleep problems and increased anxiety in people over 60. These are not complicated medical conditions or expensive solutions. These are simple, everyday habits that once you understand them, you can start changing tonight. Each solution is designed to work with your current lifestyle, not against it. You will be amazed at how small adjustments can create profound improvements. First mistake might surprise you because it seems so innocent. It is drinking caffeine after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, before you tell me that coffee has never kept you awake, let me explain what is really happening in your body. I know what you might be thinking. You have been drinking coffee your whole life, and you can fall asleep just fine after an evening cup. But here is what the research reveals that changes everything. Scientists at the Sleep Research Laboratory discovered that caffeine has a half-life of anywhere from 6 to 12 hours in adults over 60. This means that if you drink a cup of coffee at 3 in the afternoon, half of that caffeine is still actively circulating in your bloodstream when you try to fall asleep at 9 o'clock. Even more concerning, caffeine blocks adenosine receptors in your brain. Adenosine is the chemical that builds up throughout the day and makes you feel naturally sleepy. When caffeine blocks these receptors, your brain cannot receive the signal that it is time to wind down. This is particularly problematic for seniors because our metabolism slows down with age, meaning we process caffeine much more slowly than we did in our 30s and 40s. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine found that caffeine consumed even 6 hours before bedtime reduced total sleep time by 25 to 30 minutes and made it 12 to 16 minutes harder to fall asleep. But the connection to anxiety is even more disturbing. When you do not get enough deep sleep, your brain cannot properly regulate stress hormones like cortisol. Your amygdala, the fear center of your brain, becomes hyperactive while the prefrontal cortex, which helps you think rationally, becomes less effective. This creates a perfect storm for increased anxiety, racing thoughts, and that overwhelming feeling of dread that seems to come from nowhere. Let me tell you about Margaret, a 72-year-old retired teacher who came to me, completely exhausted and filled with worry. She had been drinking 2 cups of coffee with breakfast and another around 3 in the afternoon for over 20 years. Margaret could not understand why she suddenly started having panic attacks and was lying awake, worrying about everything, from her health to her finances. Within just 2 weeks of switching to decaffeinated tea after noon, Margaret reported sleeping through the night for the first time in months. She told me, "I feel like I got my peaceful mind back." Here is exactly what you need to do. Set a caffeine curfew of 2 o'clock in the afternoon. This includes coffee, black tea, green tea, chocolate, and any medications that contain caffeine. Replace your afternoon coffee with herbal teas like chamomile, passion flower, or lemon balm, which actually promote relaxation, if you absolutely must have something warm and comforting. Try decaffeinated coffee or golden milk made with turmeric and warm almond milk. One important note: if you have been consuming large amounts of caffeine daily, reduce gradually over a week to avoid withdrawal. Headaches. Cut back by 1 cup every 2 days until you reach your new afternoon limit. But wait until you hear about the second mistake that is probably happening in your bedroom right now. The second mistake that is absolutely devastating your sleep and cranking up your anxiety is using screens within 2 hours of bedtime. This includes watching television in bed, checking your phone, reading on a tablet, or even using your computer for evening activities. You might think this sounds like advice for teenagers, not sophisticated adults. But the science behind blue light exposure and its impact on senior sleep is absolutely clear and, frankly, alarming. Your eyes contain special cells called retinal ganglion, cells that detect blue light and send signals directly to your brain's master clock, the suprachiasmatic nucleus. When these cells detect blue light, they tell your brain to suppress melatonin production and increase cortisol, essentially preparing your body for daytime alertness. The problem is that the screens we use every day emit the exact same wavelength of blue light as the morning sun. For people over 60, this is particularly damaging because we naturally produce less melatonin as we age. Melatonin is not just a sleep hormone. It is also a powerful antioxidant that helps regulate mood and reduce anxiety. When you expose yourself to blue light in the evening, you are essentially telling your aging brain to stay in daytime stress mode when it should be shifting into nighttime recovery mode. A groundbreaking study from Harvard Medical School found that exposure to blue light for just 2 hours before bedtime shifted people's circadian rhythms by 3 hours and reduced melatonin production by 23%. But the anxiety connection is what really matters for your daily life. When your melatonin production is disrupted, your nervous system cannot properly downregulate from the day's stress. This leaves you in a state of hypervigilance, making your mind race with worries and your body feel restless and agitated. The content you consume on screens also plays a crucial role in anxiety amplification. News programs, social media, and even exciting television shows trigger the release of stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. Your brain cannot distinguish between real threats and the dramatic content you are watching, so it prepares your body to fight or flee just when you need to calm down and rest. Here is a perfect example from my own observations. Robert, a 68-year-old retiree, came to me because he was waking up at 4 in the morning, consumed with worry about world events and his family's safety. Every evening, he would wind down by watching the news in bed and scrolling through social media on his phone. Within 3 weeks of implementing a strict no-screen rule after 8 o'clock, Robert not only started sleeping through the night, but also reported feeling much more optimistic and less anxious during the day. He said, "I never realized how much those screens were feeding my worry habit." Here is your exact action plan. Create a technology curfew 2 hours before your intended bedtime. Charge your phone in another room, not on your nightstand. Replace screen time with calming activities like reading a physical book, doing gentle stretches, listening to soothing music, or practicing deep breathing exercises. If you absolutely must use a device in the evening, invest in blue light blocking glasses that filter out 99% of blue light, or use built-in night mode settings on your devices. The key is creating a buffer zone between the stimulating digital world and your need for peaceful rest. Your bedroom should become a sanctuary for sleep, not an entertainment center. Now, the third mistake might be the most surprising of all, especially if you think you are doing something healthy for your sleep. The third mistake that is secretly destroying your nighttime sleep and increasing your anxiety is taking long daytime naps or napping too late in the afternoon. I know this sounds counterintuitive, especially if napping makes you feel temporarily better. But let me explain the hidden sleep science that changes everything. Many people over 60 assume that napping is a natural and healthy part of aging. While short, strategic naps can be beneficial, most seniors are unknowingly creating a vicious cycle that fragments their sleep and amplifies anxiety throughout the night. Your body operates on something called sleep-wake homeostasis, which is basically your internal sleep pressure system. Throughout the day, a chemical called adenosine builds up in your brain, creating an increasing drive to sleep. This pressure reaches its peak in the evening, making you naturally tired and ready for bed. However, when you take a long nap, or nap after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you release this sleep pressure prematurely, leaving you with insufficient drive to fall asleep at your normal bedtime. Research from the American Academy of Sleep. Medicine shows that naps longer than 30 minutes, or naps taken after 3:30 in the afternoon, can reduce nighttime sleep quality by up to 40%. But the anxiety connection is what makes this particularly problematic for seniors. When you cannot fall asleep at your normal bedtime, your mind has hours of quiet, dark time to focus on worries, fears, and negative thoughts. This creates what sleep specialists call bedtime anxiety, where the mere act of trying to sleep becomes associated with stress and worry. The timing of your circadian rhythm also plays a crucial role. Your body naturally experiences a dip in alertness between 1 and 3 in the afternoon. Many people mistake this for tiredness and take a nap, but this dip is actually followed by a natural surge of alertness that should carry you through to your normal bedtime. When you nap during this window, you disrupt this natural rhythm and throw off your entire sleep-wake cycle. Let me share the story of Dorothy, a 75-year-old grandmother who was taking 2-hour naps every afternoon because she felt exhausted after lunch. She would then lie awake from 11 at night until 2 in the morning, her mind racing with worries about her health and family. Dorothy felt trapped in a cycle of daytime exhaustion and nighttime anxiety. When we shortened her naps to 20 minutes and moved them to before 1 o'clock, her nighttime sleep improved dramatically within just 1 week. She told me, "I had no idea my afternoon rest was stealing my nighttime peace. Here is your precise plan of action. If you must nap, limit it to 20 minutes maximum and complete it before 1:30 in the afternoon. Set an alarm to prevent oversleeping. If you find yourself getting drowsy in the late afternoon, try taking a brief walk outside, drinking a glass of cold water, or doing some light stretching instead of napping. These activities will give you a natural energy boost without compromising your nighttime sleep. If you are currently taking long naps, gradually reduce them by 15 minutes every few days until you reach the 20-minute maximum. Some people find that eliminating naps entirely works better for their nighttime sleep. Pay attention to how you feel and adjust accordingly. The goal is to build up enough sleep pressure during the day so that when bedtime arrives, your body is truly ready for deep, restorative sleep instead of hours of anxious tossing and turning. Speaking of things that seem relaxing but actually increase anxiety, let me tell you about the fourth mistake that might shock you. The fourth mistake that is devastating your sleep quality and dramatically increasing your anxiety is using alcohol as a sleep aid. This might be the most deceptive mistake of all because alcohol initially makes you feel relaxed and drowsy, creating the illusion that it is helping you sleep better. If you have ever enjoyed a glass of wine with dinner, or a nightcap before bed, thinking it helps you unwind and fall asleep, you need to understand what alcohol is actually doing to your brain and sleep cycles. Alcohol is classified as a central nervous system depressant, which means it initially slows down brain activity and can make you feel drowsy. However, as your body metabolizes alcohol throughout the night, it creates a rebound effect that severely disrupts your sleep architecture. Alcohol blocks REM sleep, which is the restorative sleep stage crucial for emotional regulation, memory, consolidation, and anxiety management. Here is the critical research that changes everything. The Sleep Research Society found that even moderate alcohol consumption within 3 hours of bedtime reduces REM sleep by up to 25% and increases the number of times you wake up during the night by an average of 39%. But the anxiety connection is what makes this particularly dangerous for seniors. When your REM sleep is disrupted, your brain cannot properly process the day's emotions and stress. This leads to increased cortisol levels, heightened anxiety, and what researchers call emotional volatility. You wake up feeling on edge, irritable, and more prone to worry and negative thinking. Many people do not realize their evening wine is the culprit behind their morning anxiety and racing thoughts. Alcohol also interferes with your brain's ability to produce GABA, a neurotransmitter that promotes calmness and relaxation. Over time, regular alcohol use before bed actually increases your baseline anxiety levels because your brain becomes dependent on the alcohol to relax and struggles to produce calming chemicals naturally. The dehydration caused by alcohol creates additional problems. As alcohol is metabolized, it causes your body to release excess water, leading to middle-of-the-night bathroom trips that fragment your sleep. Dehydration also increases cortisol production and can trigger heart palpitations, both of which contribute to anxiety and restlessness. Let me tell you about Frank, a 64-year-old retired engineer who had been having 2 glasses of wine every evening for over 15 years. He came to me because he was waking up multiple times each night with his heart racing and his mind filled with worry about his retirement finances. Frank was convinced he was developing a heart problem or early dementia. Within 3 weeks of eliminating his evening wine routine, Frank reported sleeping through the night and waking up with a clear, calm mind. He said, "I never connected my wine habit to my anxiety, but the difference is like night and day." Here is your step-by-step solution. Establish a cutoff time of at least 4 hours before bedtime for any alcohol consumption. If you currently rely on alcohol to feel relaxed in the evening, replace it with natural alternatives like herbal tea, warm milk with honey, or magnesium supplements. Practice deep breathing exercises or gentle stretching to achieve the relaxation you are seeking from alcohol. If you have been using alcohol regularly as a sleep aid, you may experience temporary difficulty falling asleep as your body readjusts. This is normal and typically improves within 1 to 2 weeks. Stay consistent with your new routine and focus on other sleep hygiene practices during this transition period. Your goal is to allow your brain to naturally produce the chemicals it needs for both restful sleep and calm, balanced moods during the day. Now, the fifth and final mistake might be happening in your bedroom environment right now, and it is probably the easiest one to fix. The fifth and final mistake that is turning your bedroom into an anxiety-producing environment instead of a peaceful sleep sanctuary is sleeping in a room that is too warm, too bright, or too cluttered with worry-inducing reminders. Your sleep environment has a profound impact on both your ability to fall asleep and your anxiety levels throughout the night. Most people over 60 do not realize how sensitive their sleep systems have become to environmental factors that might not have bothered them when they were younger. Temperature is absolutely critical for quality sleep. Your body naturally drops its core temperature by 2 to 3 degrees as you prepare for sleep. This temperature drop triggers the release of melatonin and signals your brain that it is time to rest. However, if your bedroom is too warm, your body cannot achieve this necessary temperature reduction, leaving you tossing and turning with a racing mind. The National Sleep Foundation recommends a bedroom temperature between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit for optimal sleep. Research shows that sleeping in temperatures above 72 degrees can increase anxiety-related awakenings by up to 45%. When you are too warm, your body produces more cortisol and adrenaline, stress hormones that keep your mind alert and filled with worry. Light exposure is equally important. Even small amounts of light from digital clocks, streetlights, or hallway lighting can disrupt your circadian rhythm and prevent deep sleep. Your brain interprets any light as a signal to stay somewhat alert, which keeps your nervous system in a state of hypervigilance. This is why many seniors find their minds racing with anxious thoughts in bedrooms that are not completely dark. The visual environment of your bedroom also plays a crucial role in anxiety management. Many people keep reminders of daily stressors in their bedrooms. Bills to pay, medications that remind them of health concerns, family photos that trigger worry, or books and papers related to problems they are trying to solve. Your bedroom should be a place where your mind can let go of daily concerns, not a place that constantly reminds you of things to worry about.